Hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the podcast. And it's with great joy and with great honor that I introduce you. You probably know him already, but I introduce you for the first time as a guest on this stream, Damparo, which is a longtime friend, my first a fellow world builder, my first dungeon master, and basically the guy who you have to blame for the fact that I'm spawning hundreds and hundreds of dinosaurs and releasing them in various campaigns and wars, and also the person who inspired me to get into streaming. So basically, I mean, so yes, long time friend and fellow word builder, and in particular, the thing that interests us tonight is that he is the creator of the word known as Nis, the Old Canva. And Damparo, I have to check a bit of a couple of settings of the video. So if you want to say a couple more words to introduce yourself and what we're gonna talk about tonight, I'm gonna let you do that, and I'm gonna do what I wanted to do with those settings. Coming up.
Okay, yes. I was checking a couple of settings on my side, and okay, yes. So as Fabrizio said, we are old friends from some like 7 years, I think, something like that.
It depends on where you set some dates.
Well, yeah. Anyway, I'm here to talk a little about Nis, which is my word building project, my main word building project, I would say.
You sort of answered to one question I had in advance. Go on.
Sorry?
Go on.
Okay. And it's a big word, like, okay, depending on what you mean with big, it can be like several words big, or even, continental big.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess the size of Nice is an intriguing question.
Yeah.
Considering how it is structured and organized. So,
yeah, if we're talking about Nice, the actual Nice, which is what I will be referring mostly today, it's somewhere as big as Europe is.
Okay, I'm gonna for the record, I'm gonna conduct this as basically a pretty standard interview, which is kind of a first for me, obviously. And in my questions, I'll be referring as Nice as the whole setting and the whole universe. But of course, it will be clear in context if we're talking about the whole setting or if we're talking about just the actual old Canva. And one of the first questions I'm going to ask, in fact it will be the second question, is will be about clarifying that. And yeah, some questions will be about, in most of the questions it will just overlap. So the first question that I have, and I plan to pose the question and then let you go with the flow until you are more or less until you are satisfied with the answer. The first question that I have, and you can take it where you want, is how I'm sorry, not how. When, like, how long ago did you first start creating and imagining Nis? And sort of, I mean, obviously related, and why? Even though we both know as word builders that, like, I mean, we create words just because. I mean, The actual answer to most of the why did you create certain words is why not? Because I felt like that. But I mean, you can answer that question however you will. Inspiration, something particular that drove you to that kind of project. But yeah, when and why was Nice or whatever Nice was in origin born for the first time?
Yes. So uh, Nice, as we can see it now, is a relatively recent idea. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this,
Yeah.
let's say, I mean, this final iteration of my word, which is Nice, I mean, it's quite definitive at this point. Um, it's maybe some 3 or 4 years old at most.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's quite young, I would say. Where with conscious and active development just in the last 2 years, I think. Last couple of years.
What do you mean by conscious and active development in this case?
Meaning that I started actually writing about the world of Nice, on Word Anvil in particular.
Okay, so you mean in an organized fashion with the express aim to develop a coherent word building, sort of fill in the gaps of the idea and concepts that you already had. Okay.
Yes, before
Uh,
that it was like uh, um, sort of a nebulous thing with everything there just um, floating around.
it was sort of the main playground of your imagination, if you can say something like that. Do
Yeah, I mean,
you think
one
this
of the
definition is
reasons I
appropriate?
am, yeah, one of the reasons I started writing Nice on Word Anvil, but I mean, writing things about Nice is um, because of role playing, right? So we wanted to play. I mean, me, you, and the others.
Exactly.
So with friends, we wanted to play uh, games, and I historically am the dungeon master, or I mean narrator or game master, whatever you want to call it. So I was tasked with the task of preparing the adventures and the campaigns. So having a word, my own word to use for this was something I liked, right? And okay, so what was I saying? Okay, so because of this reason, it existed already um, before me actually writing things about it.
Before the switch to word anvil and the transition to
Yeah,
like
exactly.
more
It
structured
was
word building.
Yeah, exactly. It was maybe I don't know. In my adventure notes, there were a couple of sections with lore settings and other stuff, and Nis was there
So was it
before building.
already the version of Nice that you started writing about on Word Anvil?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
it already existed a little bit before Word
okay.
Anvil.
Okay, so you answered the question of like what prompted you to want to organize and having a more accessible place where everything that you have on this world is neatly stored and when you can fill in the gaps and organize the word. But at the very what's the oldest I'm not sorry. How old is the oldest version of a word that we can say it's either Nis or would have eventually become Nis?
Oh,
What is
okay. If you Okay,
How old
so
it is the first thing that eventually became this?
okay. Um, the oldest thing is probably Tahausia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Tahausia is my first word that I actually created, and it was for our first D&D campaign. That word there, Tahausia, is
Mm-hmm.
now a part of the Nice cosmos. It is not in
Yes.
Nice, in the continent of Nice. It's
Okay.
in another place that, I mean, I think we are clarifying in a
We are gonna talk about
moment.
that in a very short time.
Yeah, exactly. And that was probably the first, I mean, the oldest thing that is actually that now is in Nice in the world. Even though I actually wrote nothing about a house, I think, except that it exists.
Okay, so
So
probably, I mean, there's a misconception that's probably that's an idea I had that's probably a misconception. So, how much does this word, I mean, so Nis is not the same word that I read about when we were in high school, or a further version of that word,
um okay, this is quite
or this is kind of complicated, right?
yeah, this is kind of complicated because I started writing, or I
Yeah,
mean
that's what I asked about
wanting
when I
to
said what
write
eventually would become
something.
Nis. Okay,
Yeah, I started writing something which I do not consider nice
okay,
when I was in high school.
that's a very important distinction. Okay,
Yeah, that word there had quite a different structure, um, different themes, different genre. It was completely different. Okay, it was
okay,
more high fantasy. It was not a dark fantasy. It was more medieval in tone. So it was a lot different. I think the
okay.
only uh, there's just one thing that survived, which is Damparo. Okay.
I was thinking exactly that. I was
Yeah.
about to say, but it had Damparo though. Okay,
Yeah, yeah. The only thing that
lost my voice
survived
halfway.
from, let's say, the first iteration is the character of Damparo. Okay.
Okay.
It changed.
Were
Um,
there any iterations that I don't know of between those two? Like I'm not trying to because I don't know. Um, Now I'm gonna say it in Italian because I don't know. Is there anything between the Duodeca and Nice that still had Damparo in it and that I don't know about? And of
yeah.
course,
Okay.
besides Tahouse, yeah, because I mean, at the did Damparo at any point was Damparo at any point a part of Tahausia? Like when Tahausia was not a
Um,
part of Nice?
okay. No, Damparo was
Okay,
never in
good,
Taos.
good. So
Um,
there are
Taos
some things I
started
don't know.
as a different thing, as a different project. Um, that was more. Um, I mean, Hausia started and in for the role playing for the campaign for the
Okay.
D&D campaign, and I realized only recently that I could just
It was sort
take
of it
Hausia
was
and
retconned
put it
into Nice.
in the cosmos.
Yeah, exactly. Good. It's very good.
So yeah, I think there's from what you said the Duodeca. Okay,
Yes.
Duodeca was a region in this first world
I spent like
of the
3 minutes in my mind while you were talking, trying to find a possible translation for that name, and I couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I thought of it, but anyway, the idea of having okay, just for the record, Duodeca was a region with several kingdoms and I mean a medieval type of country, let's say, in short.
Okay.
And that is now the Dujate. Okay. And even though Dujate, which is a region in Nice, has a quite similar sound to duodeca, if you want. That's
Completely
just
different meaning though.
random. It was not intended.
The one thing that translated was like the dragons roaming about of various
Yeah.
kinds.
Dujate means lands of the dragons, so it has nothing to do with duodeca, which meant the country with 12
Yeah.
lands. So it's completely different.
Okay, so going into more specific territories, there will be maybe other meta questions later. How would you, two questions that are linked together. How would you introduce Nice to someone that doesn't know anything about it? How would you pitch the word? And since it is in the title, connected to this, what is, what are the canvas?
Yes.
But you can
So
answer in either order and you can mix up the two things, of course.
yeah.
Go on.
Okay. Um, Maybe I want to start by saying what is a canvas and why I would probably not talk about canvas um,
Immediately.
immediately to a beginner.
Mm-hmm.
And just to clarify, just because I need to correct myself too, um, canvas is an actual word in English, which is written with a C, I think, not the
Yes.
K. Um, this is again a really unfortunate um, accident.
Oh, well, that's new to me.
The the word Canva in Nice is written with a key and without an S, and it
Okay.
does not mean canvas.
I honestly thought that you. I honestly had always that I'm learning it now. I honestly always thought that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
did it on purpose
that's
because it's
it's
kind of
common.
appropriate to how. I mean, it's kind of appropriate to how canvas work,
Yeah. It is, but
especially because aren't some
um,
of them accessed through paintings?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. Oh,
That's
the English version of that article is gonna be a doozy.
that's why this is unfortunate. But anyway, the point of this was that the plural of Canva is Canve. It's not canvas. So
It's
all
Canve
of
with
them.
just an E or Canvae?
It's with a AA.
Okay.
So yeah,
So the
that's the
Latin plural.
yeah,
Okay,
and
good.
yeah, exactly. Is with a weird letter used together. Um, then even that depends on the dialect of the language you were talking about this. But anyway, this is getting too much complicated. So a Canva is a word like a universe. I mean, a region of space which is separated from the other Canva,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. Okay, Nis is a Canva, is the oldest Canva, or I mean, the one that people think is the oldest Canva, and Tahausia, for instance, is another one that's the biggest one. Instead, so that's a Canva. It's just a word. They are, let's say, yeah, they are self-contained words. They are accessible with some limitations from one another. And that's where things get really complicated because we have the wayfarers that are essentially Canva travelers. So things get a little bit messy when you start um,
Yeah, but that
trying to link
complication and
together.
exploring the complications of Canve and their relationships is like the plot, at least as far as Wayfarers are concerned, and at least
It
as far
can
as
be.
we get outside of Nice proper. It's like one of the main angles, one of the main themes you can explore
Yeah.
in this universe, right? Okay.
Yes. The canvae are the one of, I mean, I would say the main problem of the setting, um, because they are in danger. So that's the conflict that makes everything interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
As in
but
their
it's
existence
complicated.
or their relations to each other, or both?
I'm sorry.
As in, you said the Canve are in danger.
Yes.
No, you know what? I'll reserve this question for later. I'll let you go on because if you have anything else to say about canvas in general, and then I'd like you to get back to why you wouldn't talk about them immediately. And canvas aside, how would you introduce Nice
Yes.
to a newcomer?
Yes. And about the canvas in general, exploring the relations between them is one of the main themes in the adventures that we are playing in the world, and in the broader um, stories that can think about narrating in the world. The problem is that things get a lot complicated very quickly.
Yeah, we saw
Because
that.
you Yeah, exactly. Just now, you want to talk about the Canve and their relations, but then you have to talk about Wayfarers because it's an organization that essentially collects and protect these Canve. So you have to explain also how you can enter into a Canva with the main gate, and all the portals problem. And at that point, you have to say why they are protecting them from what? From the abyss. And then you have to talk about the abyss because that's, I mean, and so you have just an info dump, which is a little bit, you know. So
Okay.
for a beginner, I would just not say that.
Okay. What would you say to a beginner?
So I would,
And
first of
of
all,
course, I'm writing out these recaps, and you feel free to correct any inaccuracy that I
oh yeah.
that I write.
Um, Try to
I
prevent.
wanted to say no that there are, of course.
Yeah, they know. The Wayfarers
Now
know
that
it.
there are, what the fuck?
Okay. Um, so for a beginner, it really depends on what type of beginner it is. So is it are they a beginner that are starting to play like one of my adventures with
Okay,
me?
let's not I'm gonna make it easier for you. Let's not approach these from the role playing angle specifically, but to let's approach it from the angle that's most likely to be viewed from people who watch this video. So people who already know and like fantasy in general and fantasy words. So, but it don't necessarily with it like an encyclopedic culture. They like someone that likes fantasy, likes getting into new words, and they like either stories or world building or both, and and they and you have to explain. Let's say there are whether it's a nice book, movie, or role playing game, like multiple, whatever form niche takes. You have to introduce niche as a word to someone that is in general, in the broadest term, a fantasy fan, someone that already knows like what fantasy as a genre is in general, and yeah, and yeah, just like trying to find another word to explore. And then related to this question is, would you? No, next question is later. Sorry, go on.
Okay.
Please go.
So I would suggest that a person, I mean, a more or less random person, as you described, start from reading about the Empire.
Okay.
One of the things I think are interesting about Nice is the political landscape. Okay.
Okay.
So we have, there are several countries that are essentially at war with each other. It's a sort of a Cold War, hot war, depending on the time period, but it's there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the Dujate Kingdom that I mentioned before. There's the Empire, the Arcadian New Empire. There's the Undead Cities and the Sun Kingdom. These four essentially, and they all play a role. If I had to introduce Nice to a beginner, I would start from the Empire.
Okay.
For two reasons, I guess. The first reason is that it immediately explains that this is not your classical high fantasy world.
Mm-hmm.
You immediately see that we have technology, that it's quite advanced, and
okay.
Yeah, okay. About technology is this, I think. So I would talk about the Empire and big expanding empire and the conflict. Yeah, exactly. So we have this militaristic empire that wants to. Okay, that they think they are sort of descendants from an older empire from another era, and they want to reunite all of Nice under their flag.
Rule. So yeah. Okay. As any good imperialist does.
Yeah, and that introduces one of the. Together with the genre definition, it introduces the main political intrigue, right? Since this problem is at the core of several, let's say, smaller conflicts. Okay. And I think for most purposes, this would suffice, probably. Oh well, together with the Shadow Court, which is the Imperial Secret Services.
Okay.
So I think these two things give a quite complete look on the world.
Like even simpler, because what you told me right here is like what elements, like if someone found your Word Anvil page basically and asked you which article should I read first, but if you had to sort of pitch Nice like a word to even before that, like if you had to, in the shortest way possible, someone asked you, okay, so what is this word about, you would answer like, okay, it's a word that has this and that, like three things that are interesting or unique or characteristics that, okay, Nice is the word with those three things. Notice I didn't say three words because I'm not that cruel, and I wouldn't ask something that I can't deliver. But I'm way worse than you on this account. But like three elements, because like for example, I don't know, if someone asked me, what is Star Wars? Okay, it's the word with the the supernatural knights with the lightsabers. Okay, that kind of question.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Or like,
So
what's Game of Thrones? Oh, it's the war with the dragon and the random sex scenes. Yeah, that kind of
yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Okay. Um, then I would still say that Nice is the world with the impending world war.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean,
Okay.
something more than the world war, probably.
Okay.
Um, and the, I mean, the impending abyss threat, I would guess.
Hey, that's sort of what
Yeah,
partially
that's
what we are
I
hinting
mean,
at
I
in
think
the logo.
that's probably the two. Um, I mean, they are the two main
Mm-hmm.
conflicts happening in Nice, and they just define the setting. So I
Okay.
would say that Nice is, or I mean, the word of Nice is that word with um, the abyss devouring the worlds and the impending
And the World War
world war.
about to start. Okay. Okay, so this immediately puts us into a lot of possible next questions, but I'm gonna go straight to Demon in the Room because we mentioned the Empire, we mentioned tangentially mentioned Magitech, but I'm leaving that for later. So of course that leaves and we mentioned the Kanbei. Actually, we started with that. We started with the fact that this cosmos as like one seemingly main world and a lot of satellite other self-contained worlds. Because the interesting part about this is that Nis is a Canva in and of itself. It's just that if I got it correctly, it's just that the Wayfarers think that it is the original Canva, right?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, there is no place known to basically. Um, yeah, okay. Basically, maybe someone knows more than that, but to like 99% of creatures, humans and beyond in this universe, they don't know any place that it's not a Kamba, whether they know it or not. By the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So and like for most of the time, I mean, I don't know when and where you are gonna take the story in the future, but uh, any story that is set in Nice right now is set either on the old Canva on Nice or in another Canva, or between more. Like there's never been up until now. I think there's never been a Nice story that has been actually written or played out that is in a place that is not a Canva.
Yeah.
Unless, I mean, could we say? I mean, is the inn a Canva? But that I'm leaving that for later. Or the tavern. I don't know how did you translate that in English. I'm saying the inn because the um you know what I'm referring to.
I lost you for a second, unfortunately.
Uh, I'm sorry, writing that.
Oh, okay.
I was going with
Yes,
the inn.
that's actually its name. It's the Crossroads.
Okay, okay, because we always
But
call like.
I think it's tavern. I honestly have to check.
Hmm,
I am
okay,
sure it's not an inn.
I don't know. I mean, okay, no, side question if whether the crossroads is a Canva or
Yeah, yeah,
not.
okay. I called it tavern between the words.
Okay, okay. So anyway, yeah, that leaves the abyss, which is the basically the main for the main. I mean, I don't know if it's the main force. Probably it is. Definitely the main threat at play in this world. So we can talk about that, or you can go more into exploring like the old Canva in particular, and um, something else about its general landscape that you want to talk about. But yeah, my question is, what can you say, like yeah, to a beginner, to a newcomer, about the abyss, and then the next question will be about magic.
Yeah, about the abyss, uh, I can say that no one knows anything about the abyss.
Okay.
So it's for most of the people living in Nice or in one of the other conve, for what matters, the abyss is either a place or a deity or some
Force.
greater entities, some, I mean, maybe, yeah, a force that just transcends
Hmm.
um, humanly conceivable things. Um, but anyway, it's something, and it has the power of corrupting things.
Okay.
And wayfarers, but even common people, more or less, know that the abyss tends, um, maybe because he wants to, maybe because reasons unknown, but it tends to corrupt and destroy the canvas.
Honestly, this. Oh, okay. Wait a second. I opened the wrong window. Fuck you. Okay, no, not you, of course. Okay, maybe I was zooming out on what is maybe my favorite sentence from the Nice introduction, and like one of the sentences that keep coming up in my mind whenever I think of the word of Nice, which is this one. Which is basically to me it's what like it's one of the things that most intrigues me about the both intrigues and scared me about the setting, because from the first time that I remember that we had our first conversations in which you explained me your early ideas about what the abyss is and how it works, and its relation to magic. It's what the first thought I had is, oh wow, this is an interesting contradiction, not contradiction, an interesting principle, because it sets up the world as like fundamentally, existentially hopeless or doomed. But I don't know if and to what extent you agree with this impression, and what do you, I mean, what do you, if you do agree, what do you make of it, and like um finding the words here, like what brings you to what is it that interests you in telling like this kind of story? Like I said a lot of things there, but first thing is, do you agree with my impression that yeah, this world, with the fact that the abyss is like the main the way you it was even more radical the way you first told me, because I remember your words being something like being more or less like the expansion of the abyss can only be stopped by using magic, but the use of magic eventually feeds the abyss itself.
Yes, that's still the case.
Okay. So basically,
Okay,
everyone's fucked from the very beginning.
yeah. So a characteristic of this is that there are a lot of questions and few answers,
Yes.
especially when it comes to Canve, the Cosmos, the Abyss, and Magic.
Hmm.
Um, so, excuse me if I can't give you all the answers right now, but
Yeah, side
um,
question at this point. How many of the major answers do you know, and how many are mysteries even to you?
oh no, okay.
You can just answer
Mo-
with most, or I mean,
Most of these things here about the Abyss, Magic, and everything else, I know it perfectly.
okay,
They are the core part of the whole universe here,
yeah. And the
and
story of
they
the
are pretty
world is
core.
about characters finding out those things or interacting with the consequences of those things.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, okay, good.
Um, so yes, I know everything about this. The problem is what I can tell without spoiling the main story.
Okay.
Um, but anyway, the in well, okay, since you highlighted these two sentences here, um, the problem with magic in this setting is that using magic produces corruption of the same type of the abyssal corruption.
Hmm.
So the more magic you use, the more you like lure the abyss into your world. This is something that it's not widely known, though. It's just like the um, wizards that just study magic, like in Dujate, in school, etc., and the wayfarers. It's not widely known.
Okay.
And
Sorry, were you still saying something?
yeah, I'm
Okay.
trying to formulate something. Um, so among the scholars, there's a lot of stories, legends, theories, and stuff, conspiracies. Um, some are more radical than others. Like the most radical is probably that life itself lures the abyss. So you essentially can't um, just destroy the abyss because it will just recreate itself from life. That's the super radical negative scholars. And on the other side, there's the more positive people, especially in the Moon Church, that's a religious organization. Um, and I think that you can actually just, find the abyss and destroy it. It's just a matter of how powerful you have to be in order to do that.
I was about to, yeah, I was about to ask you a question about how do you see, not how about, I was about to ask you if, to you, you were telling, what was your perception of this world if you are trying to tell the story of a ultimately of an ultimately hopeless world, or the opposite story of like finding some kind of overcoming what seemed to be impossible odds, but I realized that that would spoil the main conflict of like the
Yeah,
answer to what you're trying to. That it's the main question. So
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
That
I
is
definitely cannot
exactly.
ask this question
Yeah,
because from
yeah,
the most the point that always yeah stood strong with me and that intrigued me, and the reason I'm glad that you are working on this kind of on work, by the way, is that with the conflict and paradox presented as it is, I always felt that like I could not write a word like this because if I had to if and go. I couldn't write a word like this and like go through with it, because if I were to write a word like this with the assumption in my head that this premise is correct, and like we're ultimately all screwed, and we maybe can delay the abyss, but even the delaying is worsening the problem. I'd get too depressed by the writing itself to go down that road or of developing that word. So, but also I cannot ask you if your approach is different, because that would lead to massive spoilers. So
Okay,
I'm sorry.
look, one thing I can say, because the Wayfarers know it, that they do it like every time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they successfully purified in the past some canvae from the abyss.
Yeah, I would know.
Okay, so they know how to save a word, a canva, from abyssal influence, even when the canva is almost completely
Corrupted.
corrupted.
Yes.
Um, and they have a couple of different methods, and if things go really bad, they just try to destroy it. Okay, just to
Yeah.
take the canva and somehow destroy the canva. Uh, by the way,
Is
this
is that is
probably,
that because they are afraid that if they don't do that, the corruption will spread?
yeah, exactly. That's
Okay.
why they do that.
Because even
If they
though
think
they are mostly self-contained and only accessible to like through like one or a handful of portals, there are some like unseen connections. Even if two canvas never like touch each other, and even if no one goes directly or indirectly from one to the other, eventually what happens in one Canva will influence the other ones.
yes,
Is
that's.
that correct? Okay.
I mean, they don't really know how much one Canva can influence another Canva once it's corrupted, but they know that it's possible for like random portals to open.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh, that's cool.
and they know that they can't predict this um, because of technical reasons. So if they have a Canva that is corrupted and they understand that they can't save it because they're not powerful enough to save it, or they should. I mean, they can save it, but they have to wait. Then they prefer to just destroy it, just to be sure, so to be on the safe side.
Okay.
Uh,
Like, um, no, nothing. Stray thought that sort of answered itself. So, going on, since we're talking about a fantasy world, it's not a fantasy world without some kind of either form of magic, supernatural, sort of yeah, its own supernatural rules, bestiary, magic or magic system or whatever. Um, Once more, for beginners and in simple terms, what would you say are the main characteristics of the magic system, and how what magic is and how magic works in Nis, both as a universe and like I mean the story, whatever. What's particular? What's specific? What's unique? And what's important to understand how magic works in Nis? And that is also in relation to like what do you like and don't like in a magic system in general, and why. So how does magic work in this world, and why it works the way it does in and out of universe?
so there's essentially two aspects of magic that come out in Nis. One is the magitechnology
Mm-hmm.
that's exclusively developed in the Empire.
Okay.
And then there's a more traditional high fantasy magic, which is mostly developed in the rest of the world, and in particular in the Moon Church academies.
Mm-hmm.
The magitechnology, for the magitechnologies, the magic works essentially, more or less as electricity, okay? That's the best analogy I can think of.
It just a different just the source of energy is mystical, but it's canalized like in fully or mostly technological ways.
But the base thing, the base working of magic is the same for both types.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is that we have um, a veil that covers reality. Okay, so we have the
Okay.
physical world, and on top of that, a magical veil.
Mm-hmm.
This veil or field magic has oscillations. Okay,
Okay.
magic, or using magic is the ability from the mage of hooking on these oscillations and let's say injecting their will into reality through the magical veil.
Okay.
So that's how magical
Mm-hmm.
effects are created in this.
Okay.
That's the system, the working system. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just about controlling how this veil oscillates in such a way that what you want, the effect that you're looking for, gets reflected into the reality.
Okay.
And this works for both the wizard person and the machine, where the machine is actually just sort of an algorithmic spell that a mage cast.
Okay. Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Um, so what? I will rephrase that. Okay, so magic technology is just the interface between, or a way of constructing an interface between this magical veil and a mechanical thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a mage, a wizard, has to study and find a way, an automated way, such that when the magical field, the veil oscillates, then
Mm-hmm.
the machine operates in some way.
Okay.
Let's say that we have like a light bulb, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And magic technology consists in a mage inventing a way to um, to catalyze the magical oscillations into the light bulb so that it
Okay.
can light. Okay,
Okay.
and
And it
this
can
is called
continue to do that without the mage being there practicing the incantations all the time.
yeah, this is called energy circuitation in NIS.
Okay.
So it's the magical energy that is circulating inside the circuits, okay,
Mm-mm.
and lighting the bulb or whatever.
And we tried very much in vain to prevent the Empire from from
Yeah,
starting doing that.
exactly. This is a really powerful technology. Okay, they almost have it, or it depends on the period of the story, but
Depends on your
let's
definition,
say
or almost on your definitions of habit,
yeah, exactly. But
basically.
anyway, in the worst case, without looking at future thing, they almost have it, in the sense that they know how to catalyze these magical energies into circuits, but they don't know how to do it without the constant presence of a mage.
Okay.
So they need a wizard that makes the oscillations in the veil so that the circuit
Okay.
can work. That's the piece of technology that they might be missing depending on the period we're talking
Okay, no,
about.
sorry. This is about this is where we are in the current campaign right now, or is this a little bit earlier?
Um, in the current campaign, we are on the edge, meaning that they know how to do it without a mage, but
And
it's just the
they're
beginning.
trying to get to that point. Okay.
So it's not performant. They can do it, but
Okay.
I mean it works for a short time.
Okay. So, yeah, I was about to have another couple of questions on magic. You gave your definitions on of magic, and for example, like what are some um, or some what would you say are some limits of magic and some differences of magic between Nice and like other classical magic fantasy other classical magic systems in fantasy, and if on the flip side, are there like specific kinds of magical effects that you would say are more characteristic of Nice and that you would find more of in Nice than or are more explored in Nice than somewhere else? Like for example, I don't know how in Avatar: The Last Airbender they go all in or just elemental magic and all the things that you can do with element bending. And on the flip side, like what you can and can't do, like for example, of course, this is not one of those magic system that like just resurrects people willy nilly and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And also, I
Or
don't
I
even
mean,
know because there are undead in this world,
yeah,
but I don't know if they are undead in the usual sense of the word.
yeah, yeah. They are. Um, yeah. Okay. Things get complicated then talking about the undead. So
Okay, no,
let's
let's
put
leave
them
the
out
undead
of
aside
the
for
of
now.
the picture for now. Um, so okay, what was I thinking? Oh yeah, the magical effect. So
Okay,
in this,
there's two angles you can go. You can either go in yeah, differences with other things in the with other magic systems in the negative, as in like these are things that usually happen in fantasy that don't happen in Nice, or this or the opposite side, the positive side of this kind of magic is very present or relevant or explored in this world.
yeah,
One of the two.
um, something that does not exist in this almost is elemental magic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have essentially no elemental magic, or at least not in the sense that you usually have in um, in fantasy. So you often have like ice magic or water magic or I don't know, thunder magic, fire magic, whatever it is. On this, you have just fire magic because you can create effects of heat and um, thunder magic, electricity magic because you can um,
Because you're
create
just
effects.
transforming energy.
Yeah, exactly. What you can't see. is like creation of water, ice, or things like that.
Yeah, okay.
I don't even know how common it is to have them in magical systems, honestly. Or I mean, I can think of like video games, and they are always present. And even role-playing games, they are often present.
Yes, exactly.
Um, but as for literature, like more strictly, I can't think right now of many.
Yeah, that's a principle you and I have in common. By the way, of not of node elemental magic, because I went into the complete opposite direction, but the element of you don't just create stuff from
Yeah,
nowhere. So there's basically none of what in D&D is called the Conjuring School of Magic, because
yeah, we
it's
don't.
just not how thermodynamics works. Like
Yeah,
the
sorry.
energy that would be. I mean, if we had to, if if you want to make a fantasy that doesn't break thermodynamics, the energy that is required to like materialize a single physical thing that wasn't there before. I mean, like a any conjuration of second level or higher should be more powerful. Not more powerful. Would require more energy than any evocation spell of ninth level or higher. Like the most,
Yeah,
yeah, a 12th level fireball is still not enough energy to materialize like one coffee table in the actual
yeah,
world.
yeah. But I also have to say that while this is usually not possible, like for normal mages or even very powerful mages like Wayfarers or Damparo or whatever, um, I mean, even the moon god can't just materialize something. Uh, you can, in theory, materialize something using the Nis magical system, and that's exactly what I mean, how can they are created, right?
Yeah,
Um, it's a very limited application, but that it's there. Okay, so
I mean, probably
once
not
you're
about yeah, not about possibility at all, but relative difficulty of things.
yeah,
Like
so,
the example I made before, like making one single coffee table appear is way less impressive than like wiping out a city. But in reality, the latter would take way less energy.
yeah, and that's exactly the point. Canvas Nis are created in a particular environment where energy is essentially infinite because I mean the person, the god doing that is, let's say, linked to the life source of magic. Okay,
Okay.
so it is definitely possible, but it's not common. I mean common. It does not happen
Okay.
usually.
I
Most of
mean,
the time.
that
Let's
still
say.
leaves place for some form of element magic in the form of element manipulation, which is like, I mean,
Yeah,
moving or
and
moving
that's
around
what
stuff that it's
I
already
was.
there.
Yeah, that was I was about to say, or maybe what I forgot to say before. I don't know. Um, Still, even though you can't create water, if the water is there, you can still use it, and
Hmm.
that's probably I mean, that opens the main use of magic, at least for the normal magic side of things.
Yeah, like for the average, relatively mage that you can find
Yeah,
in
exactly.
NIS proper.
Which is effects of force. Okay. So like explosions, moving water, or whatever. They are more or less all effects of force, magical barriers, etc.
Just like one layer of directly apply pure energy to something and you like mostly control like the shape or intensity or speed at which you do it.
Yeah,
Okay, because
exactly.
it seems
That's
like that.
called that's either natural magic when it's applied to
Mm-hmm.
elements, or sigillism. Sigillism, yeah.
Okay.
Um, which is, I mean, the technical name of the school of magic, if you want.
Okay. This is
And
in general, or sigillism is like a different application.
no, it's the um wait, the application of the effect of force.
Yeah.
Um, it's a different thing that goes together with them in order to manipulate elements.
Okay.
Um, because I mean the barrier. Okay, sorry. Let me rephrase all of this. Sigillism is the school of those mages that um, essentially, I mean, at the core of the matter, create barriers, magical barriers.
Okay.
So when you want to manipulate water, what you're doing is essentially
Oh, that's cool.
um, shaping a barrier that keeps the water there where you want it.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I like that.
So it's sort of a branch of the sigillism
Oh, okay.
school,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the
It's like
the
that
how they
that's
do
neat.
it.
That's need to be like all around what you're moving, right? If you want to move a mass of water, you need both in a certain shape. You need both the piping to move it, and also you need to push the water that is uh, behind or at the bottom of the effect you're trying to create, right?
Yeah,
So it makes it kind of it makes certain types of magic that are commonplace in other universes like still possible but way more complex because it goes into greater detail of what would actually be needed mentally to do those kind of things. Losing my voice, sorry.
that can happen. Um, yeah, so that's essentially the idea behind elemental magic in
Hmm.
this. So it's not at all elemental, but I mean it includes some element, some type.
Okay, so I like that. And speaking of fantasy tropes, oh, by the way, I also wanted to ask, of course, I mean, for the viewers mostly, and in this world, magic is something that, like, theoretically, anyone could learn to perform, at least
Yeah,
in some to some degree, dependent on their potential.
yeah. I did not explicitly say this thing today,
Mm-hmm.
but yes, anyone can like go to a school. And okay, I mean, assuming that you live in a civilized part of the world, you can just go to a school and learn some magic. Then you can be more or less talented.
Yes.
Like one can be more talented at drawing, or I don't know, playing some magic, some musical instruments or whatever. That's the same thing. Some people are just better because reasons.
How common is innate or untrained use of some form of magic to some degree? Like, first of all, is it even possible? Like, do you need, or like, does the average person need to do? Is there some kind of lock that needs to be unlocked, or like obstacle that needs to be removed for someone in order to be able to interact with the veil? Do you need to have some kind of magical awakening? And if you do, how is it likely that it can happen, like naturally or outside of formal training?
Okay, so the origin of magic, just to say, to try and answer this question, at the origin of magic, there's a legend um, of the first ever mage, which is Elez, probably. She was the first head priestess of the moon goddess,
Mm-hmm.
and the legend essentially tells that she discovered magic because the goddess let her. Okay,
Okay.
it was like an enlightenment.
Okay.
Um, so for most people, magic is something that you can learn, but you can't do it yourself. You have to find someone that tells you how to do it.
Okay.
And that's what happens both in the civilized world and in the less fortunate areas. But beyond that, I talked about I said that magic is just manipulating the oscillations, right? Now, the point is that the veil does not oscillate uniformly. It can
Mm-hmm.
oscillate more when it, let's say, close to powerful entities, and less if there's nothing in the
Mm-hmm.
area. So
Okay.
technically, an untrained wizard, even a common person, can cast magic in the presence of particularly powerful um
Entities or phenomena.
yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay. So if
uh,
you're in a sufficiently charged place or time, you could sort of like limitedly self teach yourself some
yeah,
magic, or at the very least use it in a limited fashion.
yeah,
Okay.
that's essentially how they do it in the school, right? They put
Oh, that makes
the
sense.
student inside a place, and there is a teacher that makes the veil oscillates more, so that the student can begin in easy mode.
I really love this idea. I really love this idea
And
because it's the magical equivalent of like training wheels or the kiddie pool. I like that.
yeah, so that's essentially the idea.
Yeah.
But again, if you are a really powerful person, like really powerful, like you're a demon or something, then um, your presence provocates the oscillations.
Okay.
So if
That's
you
not,
are powerful enough, it's just your presence that makes the veil oscillates enough for you to cast magic.
or for someone else in your vicinity if you're obscenely
Yeah.
powerful. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you are really insanely powerful, yes.
I'm starting to.
And
You're
that's
so powerful that you're a
yeah.
catalyst for someone else's magic.
Yeah, and that's why scholars commonly think that demons are more natural talented for magic.
Yeah, I kind of like that as something you can I like how that sounds for something you can brag about. So like that you go up to someone and you say, "Hey, I'm so powerful that he can cast spells now that I'm here."
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Also, I'm starting to think that we might need whenever it is in the future a part two of this for all of the things that there are to, even at the level of basic questions. I'm loving asking you these things and discussing those. We talked a bit about cosmology. We talked a bit about the basic principles of magic and how this world is um, of the canvas of the rising. Oh, hi, Mr. Master. It's good to have you. So as I was saying, we just talked about the basic things about Nice, and also you have on the I'm going to relink Damparo's Word Anvil page, and in the meantime you can look at this great intro. I really love how this intro is written. By the way, it really puts you into the things that matters in the world. It's really an amazing presentation, and from there you can start exploring. Going from one staples to the next, what's your approach in Nice to sentient races and species, both humanoid and not, if there are, and why do you take that approach? So both in universe and out of universe answers.
Okay, so first we don't talk about humanoids here
Yeah.
because humans are not common. So it would be strange to say that something is like a human when a human is not that common. So in this we say elvoid because the elves are the most commonly found sentient species.
Sapient species. Okay.
Yeah, sapient. Yeah, sorry. And so that's that. Not that between elves and humans there's a lot of differences, but you know.
I mean, did we? If I get it right, we both did the things. We both of you and me in our respective words did the Terry Brooks things of elves are actually a human subspecies or a related species, derived race, in different ways probably.
Yeah, more or less. It's on this is a lot debatable what the origin of the species is.
Okay.
Some say that every single elvoid species derives from elves.
Of course.
So in that sense, elves and humans are sort of linked. Okay.
Okay.
And that's that. But okay, just to.
I mean, that's what they say. But if someone were
exactly.
to run, I mean, I do. First of all, they can breed with each other. I assume.
Yeah.
At least the elvoids.
I mean, elves and humans they can.
Yes.
There's some combination that can actually reproduce, and I mean they are essentially the same species in scientific terms.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Which is
Phylogenetics.
my approach in general.
Okay.
For defining a species. Okay. So they are mostly different races of the same species, which is elves. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So if
But
someone is a bipedal mammalian with two arms and a certain set of characteristics, it's probably related, like scientifically related to whatever else as the general frame. Yeah. Okay. I like that.
yeah, exactly. Probably, but for instance,
Probably.
there's the near that are essentially felines.
Okay.
They can't breed with elves.
Okay.
Even though they're still mammals. So
Okay.
there's a bit of layer of complexity
Yes,
there.
I think that there still are, let's say, anthropomorphic species that are not genetically related to humans, elves, or elvoids.
Exactly. And just to make another example, there's a species of owls, essentially.
Ooh.
They're called dring, and I mean drang, actually. But anyway, they are owls, just essentially owls. Okay, they are big elvoid owls,
Mm-hmm.
and they, as I mean, with several other species, but um, they are not even mammals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's obviously no way they can breed with elves, and they have like the common characteristic of being similar to some animal, common
Animal.
animal.
Yeah, okay.
And from that there is, I mean, it in word, it generated what's the most commonly accepted theory about the evolution of the species, which is essentially either from, I mean, genetically from the elves, or for some reason which is debated, from animals.
Yeah, but basically, you're saying that the hypotheses are basically that some elvoids animalized themselves into new strains, or that for some reason some animal species anthropomorphized themselves.
The second you said, I
Okay,
rephrased that. There's among the sapient races, there's two types of them. The first one are the elves and humans. Okay, those that
okay,
can breed with elves,
yeah, yeah.
who are essentially elves.
No, but because the first thing, the way you said it, it's like about the animal-looking races, like people don't know, and they hypothesize two possible origins. Or did I get that
Okay,
wrong?
no, it's not like that.
Okay,
I mean, they emphasize a lot, but that was not what I was saying. So yeah, there's these two distinctions. Either you're an elf because you
okay.
can breed with elves, or you are from, I mean, you're similar to an animal, and the origin of your species is not super clear, but it's
Mm-hmm.
commonly believed to be from animals. From the, I mean, it's the owl
Okay.
that became the dream at some
But
point.
still, all of these species are still. I'm keeping say anthropomorphic because I'm not making up an elvish equivalent for
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
The point is everything in Nice that basically could be a player character is something that has walks on two legs, has two hands that can hold the same implements that a human can, and I mean, okay, no facial features that varies greatly, but the general frame is something that walks on 2 feet and uses tools with two five-fingered hands, and that basically, if I'm correct, basically everything that talks, that it needs, that is intelligent as a civilization, and talks, is either anthropomorphic, some dragons, or from the abyss.
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh, I mean, yeah, okay. I would have
there's
something to say
probably
about dragons,
exceptions.
but yeah.
Yeah,
There's essentially, this is the thing.
the
Then
point
they
is that
mostly, I mean, many of them say, okay, but all these anthropomorphic animals, they exist because of the abyss. I mean, it's the abyss that modified them to be
okay,
intelligent. Okay, so there's a lot of theories.
okay.
Um, So yeah,
So yeah,
just to say
basically
that demons and anthropomorphic creatures might not. I mean, for from some people are not
some
so
people
different.
think that they're not so far
Yeah, exactly.
from each other. So I mean, just look at Alvar. Uh, so basically, that there is no something that is like a completely natural being that is sapient, but has like a completely different anatomy. Like you wouldn't find, for example, civilization of octopi, which are, I mean, we use tools
No,
with their tentacles, something like that. Okay,
no, it's not. I mean, not as far as they know.
okay. Not yet. At least not yet discovered.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I asked you about what. You answer me about what. If you want, you can explore the why. If you want to talk about the meta and out of universe aspect of this, why did you go this way?
Yeah, why was because I wanted, okay, a lot stems from how the cosmos is structured, okay? So, I mean, from
Mm-hmm.
the abyss and everything. Um, I wanted something that was more or less, let's say, scientific, okay? So I wanted to, okay, for viewers, I am not a scientist. I mean, an actual scientist, in the sense of biology, okay? But I'm still studied, yeah, let's say scientific field. So that it's that type of mentality, okay? um,
Yeah, what cracks me up is that you're calling mathematics, let's say, scientific.
I have some reserve about calling mathematics a science because, okay, let's digress for a moment because
Oh,
science
you're
should
creating a
use
flame.
scientific method, while mathematics does not use scientific method, right? Mathematics is not about experiments.
Yeah.
It's
I
about
mean,
deduction.
you tell me, of course, but yeah, even
Yeah,
that,
okay,
even I can comprehend that. Can follow that.
okay, it's that. So I am not sure mathematics is a science.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even though I mean the mentality for the study is more or less that. I mean,
Okay. Okay. Good.
but anyway, I didn't want to to drag these elsewhere.
Okay. Some people
So
could be out for blood after this.
yeah,
Okay.
so I wanted a system that was more or less scientific, or at least pseudo-scientific, because NIS is a fairly advanced word talking about technology and sciences.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm sorry, 19th century Europe, right?
Okay.
Um, so it's not like,
So people would be searching for scientific answers.
yeah,
With it,
exactly.
that kind of mentality exists in the world.
Exactly. We can assume that we already had some sort of scientific, I mean, yeah, scientific revolution equivalent, okay?
Yeah.
Um, So, I mean, they have a more or less modern understanding of medicine, for instance, or
Mm-hmm.
sciences in general. So I wanted something in that terms.
Okay. Okay.
And I choose
It's
the,
interesting.
let's say, easy way of saying if they can breed, they're the same species. But if they're different, then they are different races. Like,
Okay, so it's not because you have like to a degree I do I mean I have more or less the same approach but from the opposite negative angle that I like sort of I basically I have a problem with like that's something that happens a lot in old school sci-fi of people take off from Earth on spaceships, and then they go on a planet in a complete other galaxy, and they find people with two legs, two hands, and humanoid facial features. that somehow can breed with them, and I'm like, yeah, no. Okay. Or even worse, like, or I mean, in a fantasy world, at least when sapient races are all anthropomorphic. I mean, I can accept that because maybe in that world the origin of species is metaphysical. So like if everything that is sapient, I don't know, was created because the furtive pygmy stole some souls from the first flame, or because this world was created by someone that came from another reality, and so they acted like a god and created a new world in their image, something like that. If it's more metaphysical in origin, I can accept that like fully unrelated species are basically all humanoid, but if you're not putting something like that in the story and making it a core point, then if they look the same, they're related. At least that's my general approach to this kind of things.
Yeah, I wanted to avoid these. They are all similar. They are all the same thing. I mean, that's a bird. That's it has wings. Why should it be same as elves?
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
But also,
so
why
yeah,
should a human be of a completely different origin,
yeah,
completely unrelated? So, a nice segue to this, yeah, especially because this is maybe the last big question, and then we can have a bunch of rapid fires one. And if you, because if you want to, I would definitely like to do a part
yeah,
two of this.
sure.
So another slightly bigger question is in general. So and did you already partially answered? Which are some fantasy tropes, classic themes, and or stereotypes that Nice embraces? And on the other end, which are some that you explicitly or intentionally wanted to subvert? Like, for example, this is one thing that I do because I like that in a fantasy world, so I do this kind of. I mean, I don't know. I like undead, so that's why the Archlich is there. And on the other end, I don't like magic that summon things out of thin air, so you cannot do that. Like this kind of things. Some,
Yeah,
if you
we
can
talked
give me some
about
more examples.
magical before, so I will not go back to that.
Okay.
About tropes, I have the very classical dragon riders, because I mean, you can't have fantasy without dragon riders. I think it feels like treason.
Mm-hmm.
So I have them. I revise them, and I mean, how do you say? Okay, I mean, I fitted them in the lore of Nis, in particular in Dujate. Um, so they are not like appearing magically
Okay.
just because I wanted them. I think it's neat. Um, there's Undead too because I like them. I mean, it's just because essentially. Um, so yeah, Dragon and Dragon Riders, Undead,
So
and
about the undead now at this point, this begs the question: are they undead in the sense that they come back from the dead? As in, is there an afterlife?
so
And what do
without
people know about?
delving too much into the
Yeah,
afterlife.
not too deep. We can keep it
Um,
simple and explore the details. And I
yeah,
mean,
exactly.
next time I can for part two there will be like a question on just like talk about the undead. This time,
Okay, so what
yeah. So
happens?
okay, sorry, go.
What happens is that if a person dies in a certain place, which is the frozen lands,
Mm-hmm.
uh, their body their body becomes the host for a new life.
Mm-hmm.
So the new person that rises is an undead. I mean, it's called an undead because it has the same body as the previous person. It's actually a completely different person. It knows nothing about its previous life, but its body is still there. So they are usually called undead.
Mm.
Um, and that's that.
Okay, so we're not going more into detail
That's
of that for now,
the
if you don't want
easiest
to. Okay.
answer I can give to what's an undead.
Okay.
It gets a little bit complicated when you factor in the moon church, right?
Okay.
The moon church has sworn enemy, which is the abyss, and they decided that the undead exist because of the abyss and that they are abyssal creatures. So
Okay.
they're their enemies,
Yeah.
and because of
Which
that,
kind of tells me that the Moon Church itself does not believe in an afterlife. Unless they think that the afterlife and the abyss are the same thing.
okay, no, no. In the moon church, they believe that they mostly believe that when you die, your soul uh, goes back.
Goes
Your
back.
soul goes back to the let's call it life stream, okay?
Okay.
So your energy, your magical energy that gives you life, it can't be destroyed, so it just goes back into
Mm-hmm.
um, the stream, the universal
Oh yeah,
stream.
right. It actually does not imply what I said because they just have to think that the origin of whatever animates an undead is different from that. It's not actually it's not the is that what animates an undead is not of the same nature as what would be a mortal soul, but instead something that comes from the abyss.
Even if it was, um,
They would
I
say that
mean,
it's the abyss that makes it do that.
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Many of them say, okay, yes, they behave as elves, humans, etc. Because the soul is the same, is
Yes,
still an
or at
elf.
least made of the same matter.
Yeah, exactly. But
It shouldn't be there.
it never went back into the stream, and from the stream back into reality. It was like
Okay.
deflected from the abyss.
Oh, I like this idea that it's basically that they think it's basically a reincarnation that took a wrong the
Yeah,
mm, the
it's
wrong
more or
road.
less this. Yeah.
Okay, that's neat.
Um,
That's quite neat.
so since the Moon Church, which is the most common religion in Nice, think this, the undead are seen more or less as demons or
Okay.
bad, evil creatures,
Okay.
and because of this, the undead that they call themselves undead are often um, um, misunderstood not misunderstood, they understand that it's different things, but they just decided that it's the same, um,
Mm-hmm.
with other forms of undeath
Abyssal creature
where the
or non undead.
body is like possessed by an evil spirit, an actual demonic spirit.
Oh, okay, because that's there too. Okay. Or
Yeah,
maybe animated by someone. I mean, that's the usual like necromancy in the sense of
yeah,
corpse manipulation exist.
yes.
Okay, good.
Uh, yeah. So
Oh, sorry.
I mean, the demon church then adds a little bit of complexity to the undead thing because they think that they are inherently evil and just decided they are the same as the other undead.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of confusion of
Okay.
terms.
So that's interesting
Thanks
because
to them.
usually the undead, when the undead are present in a story, they are either the undead in the sense that they never properly died, which is the scientifical horror kind of undead, like
Yeah.
the infected zombie, like the SCP zombie, like something infects you and instead of dying. You become something, or just like after biological death, your corpse does things, or they are the undead in the fantasy sense of they died but then did not stay dead. And this is kind of a none of those two in a way, but it's closer to the fantasy side than
Yeah.
to the Resident Evil
Somewhat.
side. Because it's still more. I mean, someone died and someone rose up.
Yeah.
Um,
So it
okay,
is someone else, but yeah, it's
yeah, good.
somewhat similar to the
It's more on the Resident Evil to D&D spectrum. It's a bit more
yeah.
slightly more towards D&D. Okay, so one more fantasy, if you have it, of course. One more fantasy trope or fantasy thing that you like and you can find in Nis, and after that, three, if you have as much, that you instead intentionally avoided.
Yeah, so another thing that I put, yeah, it's not much of a fantasy thing. Um,
Because I would say the Wayfarers, as in the order of ward jumpers that protect the balance.
yes.
That's definitely a fantasy trope that it's
Yeah.
prominent
That's
here.
definitely a fantasy trope. Yes, that it's probably them. It's like the protectors of the universe,
Hmm. Okay.
the powerful um warriors, mages in this case, I mean wizards, whatever, that try and protect the world from the evil thing, which is the abyss.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
these universe versions of the Guardians of Reality itself.
yeah, yeah. Um, but on this, I would start talking about the thing from the fantasy that I actually, um,
You're avoiding on purpose.
or making radically different.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Please
Yeah.
do that.
Um, it was part of the original question, right?
Yes, yes, it was the
Okay.
second part. Like
Yeah.
we
Okay.
have finished the like trope that I like, and then we basically said you basically said Dragon Riders, the Undead, and
Yeah.
the multiversal Guardians of Reality. And now instead of the fantasy tropes that like you are avoiding, I specifically ask you if you have them about things that you do intentionally, like with one of the reasons you do that. Uh, one it qualifies for being here if out of universe you said or thought, this always happens and I don't like it, so instead I'll do this.
Okay. So it's
I
more
mean,
difficult than I
not
thought.
this formally, of course, but it does have to
Yeah. Yeah.
be.
Okay.
You do have to know or have known in advance that you were subverting a trope here.
Yeah. Um, at this point is a little bit of subverting cliche, probably. The anti-hero stuff, right?
Hmm.
When you say, okay, I have my hero, but he is not a good hero, or I mean, not in some sense at least. But I still think, at least from my um, readings of fantasy literature, that when you have a fantasy story, you have um, an evil side, a clearly evil side, and a more or less clearly good side, right?
Hmm.
There's something that, I mean, there's a side in the story that you say, okay, this is clearly good. It's clearly the morally correct thing to do.
This is if you're a good writer, because if you're a bit less good of a writer, what you get is a side that it's obvious you want me to hate, and a
Yeah.
side that is self-righteous. Not exactly good. A side that is preachy and self-righteous, which, by the way, was my entire experience with Kingdom Hearts 2, which was like,
Yeah.
I'm very much rooting for Organization 13, and I'm not sure they wanted me to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because by the end of
I
that,
mean,
okay, I was like, Sora is what you described as, in theory, the completely good protagonist. Instead, is basically a racist asshole, and Mickey even more so.
yeah.
Okay, but
I mean, in a
go on.
well-written story,
In a well-written story, yes.
you usually have this, and this is not something that I don't like. It's okay. It's
But it's not what you want to do with your writing.
exactly. I didn't want to do that thing. It's not just having, the character that you thought was good and instead it was bad. um, it's not that. It's just saying, okay, we have these sides. I am not saying which one is good, which one is evil. They're just there, and you can choose what you think, right? Um, I think, except for the abyss, which is at least as it is seen in Word, which is clearly evil. Um, for the other sides, it's it's clear that they are neither bad neither evil or good. They are just sides,
At the very least, not
and they,
intentionally. I mean, they have each
yeah,
their own
exactly.
agenda.
Yeah, there's the Moon Church that is the self-righteous, etc., etc. Uh, but it's clear that it comes from them. They are good because they think they're good. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, I
um,
definitely had that impression. It's not like it's not like you have to convince the reader or the player that the Moon Church is good. You do what the story that you tell is that they see themselves as the ultimate good, and that's what's most apparent.
yeah. I mean, I'm there's in November there's the National Writing Month. The NaNoWriMo,
Yes,
which is the event where you are prompted to write a story
mm,
in November, right?
yes.
And I will try to participate with a story that will probably see as a protagonist an agent from the Shadow Court, okay?
Oh,
So an Imperial agent. Um, and it's clear that since the whole thing is written from their perspective, the Shadow Court and the Empire are the good side because it's their side. But I hope to be able um, to make the reader understand that it's just a side. It's the Empire. It does good thing, evil thing. It's not the point being evil or good.
mm. Okay, okay. So
So yeah, that's
that's
the thing
one
that I
thing.
hope I can um, subvert from the classical fantasy.
Okay. Okay, something more? Even more specific, like not this big team wise.
Hmm. I'm trying to avoid.
I mean, even I mean, I don't know. It can be something like from something like what you just said, which is like very big in scope. Yeah, I'm trying to not make one side completely evil and one side completely good. to something like even more something incredibly more specific, like for me, for example, I don't know, something that is true in general, I've really grown to hate dual wielding of identical weapons, like that kind, whatever scale, whatever scope you want to touch with
Yeah,
that
the
sort of
problem with
thing.
this is that
Or like
if I'm
certain types of
avoiding it,
characters, certain types of magic, some things that, or certain types of story dynamics that usually happen in fantasy that you're like, okay, no, I'm very much not doing that on, or doing the opposite of that on purpose.
yeah, the very problem of this question for me is that if I'm doing, I might do it like actively, but it might be unconscious. So I am
Mm-hmm.
trying to avoiding it, and I constructed the whole thing in the beginning, try to avoid it, but then I forgot what the original problem was. But at this point, it's out of the structure, so I can.
Okay, so you don't even know it anymore because you weren't
Yeah,
focused
exactly.
on that. Okay, maybe you. The difference between you and me is that you are less aware of the rest of the genre when you
Yeah,
write your own stuff.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
exactly.
Because
That might be the
I
case.
definitely mind that thing a lot, because I basically, every time I write something, that's like a part of my mind in the background that like checks for matches in other stories that already exist, and I sort of constantly wonder, do I want to do this thing that I've already seen in other things, or do I want to go in another direction? And maybe you are a bit freer than me from that constant mindset.
Yeah, I mean, I I don't expect to do something that's completely different from everything else, or
No,
that has the
it's not
least.
about that. The pretense of like I'm completely original is, I mean, just dumb. It's just no reason to that. That's not what, it's not what telling a good story is about.
Yeah.
But sometimes, I mean, you do have to. I think you do have to grapple and interact with. You have to be aware and to take into account tropes and stereotypes, but not because you have to avoid them. Even though that might be because you want to use them, and you want to use them right. You want to use them well. At the end of the day, tropes are tools, and most of them exist for a reason, and many of them exist for good reasons. Like, I mean, that's a reason. For example, I don't know, something else. Keeping on examples of mine, I hate. I absolutely never use prophecies and chosen ones, at
Hmm.
least in the normal sense in which fantasy uses those kind of things. I mean, that kind of thing. I'm talking about that kind of things, or like the hair from the noble family tropes on any scale and or any things. If you have example, if not, we can just, if you can just tell me, I can go to the next question, and besides
Yeah,
we have a little
I
more than
don't
10
think
minutes.
I have any example right now. Um, if I really think about it,
Think
I
about them for next time.
might come up with them, but maybe I come back on this later
Yeah.
if in the background I elaborate the thing.
Okay. Um, okay, so yeah, there are some of the big questions that I definitely want to ask you next time, which is, at the earliest, by the way, if you can, at the earliest I can do it, it's like 2 weeks from now. So not next Sunday, the one after, but we'll have to get back between you and me about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just next week is off. Just saying that. So a couple
Yeah,
of
we'll see.
simple, small questions, like just to have a bit of fun, and then we're saying goodbye for tonight. Um, oh my God, I'll have some big questions for next time. Yeah, let's go with two of the fun. So, what's the scariest thing in Nice that you can mention right now? No spoilers, and that you
Okay.
already know about. It
Okay, the
can be a thing,
scariest.
a person, a creature, or a place. And you don't have to
This
explain the whole of it. Just what name drop it and why it's scary.
just like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have less than
So
10 minutes anyway.
oh yeah. The scariest thing is probably the black salt mines. Yeah.
Okay. Is there
Um
already an article on that?
yeah. It's
Oh,
there's an entire cycle on the black salt that I wrote during the World Anvil
is it
summer camp.
here? Is it this one that I have on screen
There's
right now?
if you go in the
Do I
um
have to go? If I click on salt trading company,
yeah, if you start from there, they should be all linked together.
okay.
I have to reorganize a little of the new articles, but if you start
Yeah,
from the salt trading company
I'm seeing
and
some creepy
go,
stuff here.
it's all there. um, it's exactly.
I'm seeing the creepy stuff there. I'm seeing the
It's
bad
not
stuff.
scary in the sense that it's horror scare. I mean, yeah, horror
It's not
scary.
jump
It's
scare or gore. It's like
yeah,
the heavy stuff. Okay.
exactly.
It's like
It's
the
like
place
you
you
don't
don't want
want
to
to live
be
this
in.
life.
Okay.
That's probably the scariest thing right now in this.
Okay. The flip side of this was about I should have crafted this question better, but I want to ask about instead what's the cutest thing that you can already talk
Yeah,
the most adorable or the most wholesome thing on in Nice that you already know one can talk about.
I mean, remaining on the cutest thing, there's a sapient races, I mean species, of amphibian. I don't know
Oh,
the
those
word
one,
for
those
that.
guys. Yeah, that's definitely the cutest
Um,
thing.
but it's that word there, the thing that can live both in on
The
land and
axolotl
in yeah,
amphibians.
the axolotl.
Oh,
They
okay.
are another races, another uh, anthropomorphic species, and they are cute because they are little, I mean short sized, um, pink, pinky things. They're probably the cutest creature
Yeah,
around.
that speaks to my love of small sentient pseudo reptilian races. In this case, amphibians, salamander, newts.
Yeah.
Still good for me. Still good for me. Um, okay, very last question for now because I'm leaving all of the big ones for next time.
Yeah.
Uh, this could be very hard or very easy to answer because it's a question and the answer is another question.
Okay.
What's the biggest mystery in Nice that you yourself don't know the answer to?
Oof, I know everything. There's no
Oh,
mystery.
okay. So there is no big thing that's like if one were to that's a mystery to you as well, or like because either because you haven't developed it yet or because you don't want to. Like for
Um,
example, speaking about Eberron, like Kit Baker, the author, does not know and does not want to know what is the cause of the morning, the event that wiped out an entire nation in one day, because that mystery is part of the story that any campaign in that world can create. I mean, this kind of thing. First of all, do you have something of this kind? Not necessarily this big. And if you have what it is, like, what is the biggest in universe question that you either don't have the answer to yet or don't want to have?
um, I don't really know there's one because of how I built Nice over time.
Okay.
Since it started somewhat differently and then uploaded here, um, what happened now is that I have essentially all the big things um, fixed. I mean,
And you are
uh,
making the word up from the consequences of that.
exactly. They are the
Yeah,
base
that makes
for
sense.
everything else. So obviously there's no mystery for me. I
Okay,
mean, there's a lot of mysteries in Word, but it's not a mystery for me. I know
okay.
everything. I mean, we didn't say that, but Nice is currently in the third era, and no one knows anything about the previous two. They can
Except you, of
only
course. Yeah,
theorize.
exactly.
I know everything about the first era and the second era.
Okay,
Or I mean, everything that's important to
okay,
know.
that's good.
And I mean, so it's quite difficult for me to find something like that. Um,
Okay. If there's
so
anything you want to say in conclusion, if not, we're saying goodbye with the I'll go with addition. With the addition that, like, I hope to see you. We'll talk to each other about the next podcast, because the next two things I want to do is, first of all, to do a second part of this, to ask you all of the interesting questions that I have prepared that you already know of that I didn't get to ask you tonight. And of course, if you want to, I'd love to have the opposite conversation
yes,
either on your or my channel in the
absolutely.
future.
You
Uh,
will come over my channel so that I can call all of the Word Anvil community to bully you into into
oh,
writing your stuff on
oh,
the.
oh, good, oh, good, oh, good. You're trying to drag me into bringing Tageya to World Anvil, which I do want to be dragged to that, so I'll not resist that much.
Yeah, jokes
Uh,
aside, yeah, I obviously want you to come talk about your things.
okay, that's good. Okay, yeah. So if you have any closing statement, if not, I'll just do the honors and say the goodbyes.
Yes, I leave you to the honors.
Okay. So yeah, you can follow Damparo on Twitter. I'm about to show his page and link him right now. He's right here, by the way. So yeah, this is Damparo's Twitter. You can follow him. Great guy, great author. And yeah, it's linked right here. You can find both of us on. Do you have the link to Twitch here on the? Oh, it's here.
I think I do,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So closing before the video starts, I'm linking your Twitch as well. And of course, you can find me on Twitter and the archive on YouTube where this is gonna be. And I hope to see everyone soon on part two and the next episodes of the podcast wherever they are. Have a good night. Rest up. Peace out. Love you all. Love having Damparo here, and I hope to see you soon again. Bye bye.
Bye
Streaming
bye.
is out.